and we'll be going over 2.1 today. The Great War has ended, leaving 20 million people dead and content in ruins. The old world is gone. The German, Austro-Hungarian, Russian, and Ottoman empires have all collapsed. In their place is a massive power vacuum, and men who were met in Paris have the impossible task of filling it. But we'll see the peace they created left almost everyone angry. Before we look at the treaties, we look at the chaos. In Russia, the Bolsheviks had seized power and were fighting bloody civil war. In Germany, the Kaiser had fled to the Netherlands, and the communist revolutions were popping up in Berlin and Munich. The peacemakers weren't just writing a treaty, they were trying to stop the world from failing in a total revolution. They were rushed, stressed, and working in city Paris, where people were still mourning from their own wars. The big three and their aims. The conference was dominated by three men. First, Woodrow Wilson of the U.S. He was the idealist. He arrived with the 14 points, believing that every ethnic group had its own country and they all joined the League of Nations. War would be impossible. Then there was George Clemenceau, the Tiger of France. Clemenceau didn't care about Wilson's ideas. He had seen Germany invade France twice. He also wanted Germany crushed so badly they could never walk again. Finally, Lloyd George of Britain. He was the middleman. He wanted to punish Germany, but he also wanted them to remain a strong trading partner to Britain. When the Germans were finally shown the Treaty of Versailles, they were horrified. They called it the Diktat, a dictated peace. They were not allowed to negotiate. If they didn't sign, the Allies would threaten to invade. This created a sense of betrayal from Germany that would last over 20 years. They felt they had agreed on an armistice based on Wilson's fair 14 points, but the treaty they got was a slave treaty. Germany lost 13% of its land. Imagine losing 30% of your house. Alsace Lorraine went back to France. West Prussia went to Poland to create the Polish Corridor. This gave Poland access to the sea, but physically cut Germany in half. Families were separated from the new border, and millions of Germans suddenly found themselves living in a minority in Poland. This was a source of massive national anger. To Clemenceau, Germany's army was the root of all evil. The treaty slashed the German army just to 100,000 men. No tanks, no planes, no submarines. The Rhineland, the heart of German industry, was demilitarized. This meant Germany couldn't even put a single soldier into their own territory to defend its land against invasion. To a proud nation like Germany, this was not just a military limit, this was total humiliation. Now we come to the most famous part, the Article 231. It forced Germany to accept total responsibility of starting the war. The Germans hated this because they felt they had been dragged into the war by Russia and Serbia. But Allies needed this clause for a legal reason. If Germany was guilty, they were legally liable to pay all the damage. In 1921, the bill was set to £6.6 billion. This was an astronomical amount. Economists at the time, like John Maynard Keynes, said that this would keep Germany in poverty for generations. It wasn't about the money. It meant that every time Germany's workers brought a loaf of bread, they weren't just paying for a war, their leaders already lost it. It wasn't just Germany. The Treaty of Saint-Germain turned Austria into a tiny landlocked country and forbade them from ever uniting with Germany. The Treaty of Trianon took 72% of Hungary's land. Think about 72%. It left 3 million Hungarians living in foreign countries. Even Italy, a winner, was angry. They didn't get any land in the Ardeat they were promised, leading to the phrase militarized victory. So was 2.1 a success? Fewer people lived under the foreign rule in 1920 than in 1914, but peace was built on resentment. Germany felt cheated Italy felt betrayed, and new countries in Eastern Europe were unstable. The seeds of the seeds for World War II weren't shown in 1939; they were shown in 1919. Thank you for listening, and that's all I'm gonna have today.